that's it. Alright, subsidies and coalitions file. That was short. But yeah, I mean, like, I couldn't do more of this. Like, this is the best they got. Like, even this seemed a bit too much. And yeah, I mean, I guess I could delve more into what the cities are like. I probably will delve more into what the cities are like individually and what life is like for them in particular, instead of having like this, like this very pretty worded thing, like very pretty worded story thing. But yeah, Eastern Coalition. Let's bring up the timeline. Eastern Coalition. They got their start in the Third World War, and which, by the way, I don't know. And by the way, if you didn't read, and by the way, if you didn't read the time, if you didn't watch my timeline videos, and probably didn't get what was happening to them, especially after I told you the government style, or read to you the government style. Yeah, the Eastern Coalition. This is actually one big lie. This right here is one big lie. They did not nuke the Earth. They did not nuke the Unity. They did not nuke America. They did not nuke Europe. They pretty much retreated to their borders, signed a peace treaty, and then shut off their land to everyone else. To the most part, anyway. I'm not quite sure how far I want to take it. You know what? I probably want to take it all the way. Like, pretty much go full North Korea. Actually, go better than North Korea. Go fuller than North Korea, let's say. Which part I need to look at? Oh yeah. So in 2025, with World War III done with, Russia and China having lost World War III, and their bids for global conquest raised the Grand Iron Wall and isolate themselves from the world, cutting themselves from the global internet, instead making their own, closing borders and creating a refugee crisis for those lucky enough to escape. Mongolia becomes an island in a sea of red. Which probably just added this. When I this and got inspired to do a bio, so I did a bio. So yeah, I mean, Mongolia itself could be its own little flashpoint, its own little cool flashpoint, where Mongolia pretty much is inside. It basically is inside of North Korea. Basically, imagine being inside North Korea, yet being a democracy, yet being part of the West. In this case, part of the world. You're inside of this commie-fascist state. Yeah. And pretty much the only way that Mongolia can communicate with the outside world is through air travel. And I'm thinking that, like, basically, I'm thinking that there will be skirmishes on the borders, of the Eastern Coalition and the Unity, which is pretty much the rest of the world, which is pretty much the Russia-Chinese border. Like, there's skirmishes, little wars, especially, like, little wars at this point. After World War III, people found that war can be a good thing if done extremely cleanly, where you don't kill, where basically collateral damage is taken to a minimum, at least in human terms. It can be used as a force for good to, like, to a government that's abusing their people to make them not do that. And give them a reason not to do that. Like, for example, the Eastern Coalition does not abuse their people, like, for example, the Soviet Union or even China does now, or Cuba or Vietnam, stuff like that. Not even to those levels. They don't do that because they're afraid Green&Blue is going to come and just destroy them. They're afraid that Unity is just going to have had enough and just go across their border, despite having insanely good defense. So even that would be unlikely. And basically, the Eastern Coalition is supposed to be a utopia in which people are in control, but they're such good leaders, no one wants to invade them. Like, for example, North Korea is a counterpoint. People want to invade North Korea to save their people. They can't because they literally have a gun pointed at the head of South Korea. If anyone dares look at North Korea wrong, they just nuke. They just nuke Seoul with artillery shells. And that's before they had nukes. Now they have nukes. Now it's even worse. So yeah, and then, I mean, of course you're not. I'm assuming. Of course, this is assuming that you're fine letting North Korea abuse their people. You don't want to go over there and deal with the other business, still the others in their business. Whereas in the Diverse, people still think like that, but it's like thinking isolationist today. It's very archaic, despite being only a couple decades ago in which people thought isolationists, aka World War II. But then again, in World War II, we figured out very quickly that isolationism is very bad, at least for America. You can be isolationist to be a small country, but being a big country, that's usually not a good thing. Especially if you're entwined with the world in such a way to pretty much always proc the founders. We only get involved when it's our affairs. I mean, like, everyone judges their money by our money. I mean, you can't get more involved than that. And everyone uses, and every society is based around one of our tools of existence. We call it the internet. So yeah. So it's very not getting involved anymore. Other people still make excuses and still complain because they're too lazy to leave our borders. But anyway. Of course I'm joking around, but still. Um, but Isolation Coalition prevents a war by simply doing good by their people. They have infinite power over their land, and I mean they're still wanting to conquer the world, but they're waiting. But they're fine with conquering their own people until an opportunity arises, which was World War IV. Which was World War IV. That was World War IV. That's World War IV. Actually, there's World War IV. And this is the events around World War. So yeah. And pretty much yeah. So basically, life inside the Eastern Coalition is actually pretty good. I mean, with machines doing the dirty work, or at least the work people don't want to do. You got machines who help humans as assistants, or AKA as the robot butlers if you want to be racist. Or not racist, but uh, uh, prejudice. You can say that if you want. Um, so yeah, and so yeah, so yeah. Um, and basically it's like communism, fascism. What happened if the people who started the movements actually knew what they were doing and just weren't complete jerks and literally the worst people ever to exist? Instead, that they are the worst people to ever exist, but they were smart about it. And decided they didn't want to just, get themselves off to massacring their own people, like some leaders do. So yeah. And the Eastern Coalition, pretty much in World War III, is dude spam. They use tons of Chinese. They throw Chinese at everything because Russians can't throw Russians at anyone anymore because there are not enough Russians to go around. But Chinese and Russian tank holds up okay time. That works. Um, because there are so many Chinese that you can put. They are trained by the Russians in the not communist style, but in the conscript style. It works. I mean, China and Russia both use conscripts for some odd reason. Um, so yeah, basically that's what World War III was, and then once having lost their forces, despite Green&Blue doing less than lethal shots, and the Unity doing typical, not always shooting to kill anymore with Green&Blue around. Um, and not being jerks like killing prisoners and stuff like that. And just basically vehicles being so safe, and it's still one pin equals bail. In vehicles means that people bail out and then they're safe and they're not going to get murdered by not going to get murdered by someone just plugging tons of rounds into the vehicle, stuff like that, or the vehicle exploding. Not guaranteed with Changer or Eastern Coalition vehicles, by the way. So pretty much, the real reason, because if there are machines working for you and you're not fighting, basically, and then in the gap, after World War III, in the gap after World War III, what am I looking for? I'm looking for no, I'm looking for second timeline. Second timeline. In 2030, the Eastern Coalition military becomes the first to be made of the majority of machines with humans picking up command and rarely in the field. Like starting in 2030, you rarely see East Coalition people, aka you rarely see Chinese who aren't American Chinese, or Chinese Americans, I should say. I got that wrong. Chinese Americans, and you rarely see Russians who are not, you guessed it, Russian Americans and Russian Chinese emigrated throughout the world. You rarely see them because another flaw in Stalin's design, and Hitler's design, is letting people see what it's like outside of the veil, outside of the curtain, outside of the wall in this case. If you just send machines out there and only let the leaders, the godlike race of individuals, or whatever they think, they're just all people who just got absurdly lucky and got command roles. Basically, they rolled up high on the command. And basically you only see, very rarely do you see leaders because they want to be safe. Because they might get arrested otherwise for stuff they may or may not do in their own country. Um, but you do see a lot of machines. You do see a lot of machines, androids, for example, walking around who represent the Eastern Coalition. In business and stuff, selling Eastern Coalition stuff machine advancements and stuff like that, advancements in just societal stuff like that. Like you see lots of them working for, and let's say you see a lot of machines who work for who work for a Eastern a coalitionite businessman, who, because laws of the nation say that they only can, basically laws of the nation. Actually, no, wait. If they don't know that outside exists other than a wasteland, if they think the entire world is Fallout, but they live in Utopia, that one makes sense. But what makes sense is the government comes by and says, "Oh, you're great. We're great. We're going to give you, or we're going to sell your equipment to Leeds, and it's going to be a great thing for your family, great honor." And they're like, "Yay, you can do that." And then the government turns their product, and basically you have a leader turn their product. A leader basically beats a proxy for their company. And like, for example, the story could be that they're selling it to other people. Like, for example, if you're Chinese, they're selling it to Russians. If they're Russians, they're selling it to Chinese. Or people in Siberia, or people in the Gobi, stuff like that. Like, basically anywhere but to the outside world, because the outside world does not exist. If the outside world does not exist, then there'll be a major logic break, and they'll think, "Oh, wait, you're lying to me, government. Government, why are you lying to me?" That'd be bad. That'd be cause for a revolution. That'd be bad. So basically, you have like machine proxies doing work of leads. Who leads aren't even allowed to lead the country either. Only the leads next to the great leader are allowed to lead the country. So basically, leads. I mean, I'm calling them leads. They're called leads for the same reason they're called leads in Unity. And mostly they're based off. That terminology based off the Unity. They're basically part of the council of leaders of the individual areas and stuff like that. So yeah, and then basically on the inside, they're like massive, insanely advanced cities, because that's where people are going to spend. That's where people are spending all their time, and they don't really go anywhere other than maybe take a vacation with their family every, I don't know, couple of years, to, like, for example, go to Russia, or go to China, and have a vacation. Look at the ancestral cities of maybe their grandparents on their father's sister's side. Because I believe that they're going to be, like, I believe that they're separate, but at a certain point in history, they're going to be separate only by name. Like, for example, the NASCOW, the North, South, Central Union is going to be always separate. It's always going to be Canada, America, Mexico, Brazil, Argentina working together in the Union, very loosely. Like, it's just a alliance of, you exist on the same continent as us, therefore we must be in the Union because it's cool now. Whereas the Eastern Coalition, which is technically a union of Russia and China, at the later bits, by the way, that's 2038 is when they're mostly automated. By the way, the cities. They're they're basically just be one gigantic super nation. that rivals no other than the fact that the Unity, which is an alliance, the Unity in the Derverse, at least the physical version, the spiritual version is the same, but the physical version is like this. It is like the Allies. It is like the UN. It is like it's more like, well, it's like NATO. It's like NATO where the countries are connected together in the alliance, but they're not anywhere near the same thing. They are not like European Union or America. Whereas the Eastern Coalition is very much like America. Yeah, even more of one country to a point. So yeah. Um, but yeah, so that'd be the Eastern Coalition. Thanks for watching. And I'll do more video. And basically, what you got in the last bit was me doing ideas, which if I got some ideas I want to talk about in a video, I will do a separate video where I just stare at the word list. And then when I make their flags, which I will make their flags eventually, I really want to make theirs. Which, by the way, what this flag is if you haven't guessed already, is pretty much a mix of symbology. Well, pretty much it has symbology of Russia and China. Um, in a simple way for a logo. Like for example, you'll see a logo is what you see stamped on a tank. A flag is what you see as you know what a flag is. It's the it's the spangled banner. Spangled banner. Sorry, my mouth. Or it's the Union Jack. It is the flag. The flag is what you see hanging off flagpoles. Whereas the logo is what you could say is an insignia, but I just call it logo because that's what the GDI insignia is called, or logo. Because logo can be used either way as well. It can be used interchangeably, almost. A flag cannot. Actually, a flag could be, but still. But yeah, basically the double-headed eagle is, of course, well, I mean, is this an empire thing? But, like, for example, whenever you're seeing Putin walk around on TV, you notice this double-headed eagle a lot. It is Russia's symbol. Imagine the bald eagle, with the arrows and lightning bolts being the symbol for the United States. That's what the double-headed eagle is for Russia. The yin yang, of course, is Chinese. Yin yang is Chinese. And then the red star is, of course, both of them is communism. Um, it represents their union, what they share, and the Eastern Coalition is. This can imagine one big red star, and then a double-headed eagle, and then a yin yang, which is split, holding the eagle. Which what I was going for with the logo is basically making it so neither are the singular elements. Like both are equally important on the background that holds them together, pretty much. Like for example, they're inside the star, not the stars behind them. And basically, double-headed eagle. Because remember Russians, as much as they hate it so much. They're European. They believe in the prominent thing being they believe in the prominent thing being in the top most center, or being in the center. That's where their goes. However, the Chinese, being Asian, believe in more symbology, or at least based on what I know, I believe this is what they would make. Believes in symbology. Like for example, they believe in like for example, the Russian eagle is inside of the yin yang, and the yin yang is going around the Russian eagle, symbolizing both their light and dark elements of both of their civilizations, and how they're intertwined, and stuff like that. Whereas the Russians believe we are Russia, we are in the middle, we are awesome. The Chinese are also here. They're also awesome because they are around us. And then they're both on the Red Star because they're both awesome, connected by the United Communist Alliance, and stuff like that. Like, connected by a similar idea. Or at least that's why I'm thinking of it. I think it'd be really cool to look at too. But yeah. And then the flag is more abstract. Like basically as Asia, Russia, and China, or particularly Russia and China, I should say. In black and white, like yin yang, where basically the capitals, like for example, I forgot how it goes, but basically you have like black or white Russia, I forgot which, but it's the yin yang, but just Russia and China. Um, basically having the states be a mixture of positive and negative, and then you have, and then the globe is gray because the globe does not matter. The globe is not what we are. We are who we are. We are our countries or our lands. The globe does not matter. The globe is against us. The globe is gray. The globe lacks color without us in it. And then the borders around the country on the globe, which part of the globe is gray, like it's a gray ball. And nothing exists without Russia and China. Nothing exists without a coalition. We are the one thing that is the world. Which means that they're highly narcissistic. Which should probably be true of airlines like this. And then the borders are red because that's our main color scheme is red. And then from the globe would be red, would be like a red background. Like for example, you have a globe in the middle of the flag, with Russia in the middle of the globe. I mean, with Asia in the middle of the globe, and then with the Eastern Alliance in the middle of the globe, and then you have a gray seeping out like a red tide from the globe, meaning that they will conquer all. That all will be theirs eventually. They just need to expand from their borders, through the people that don't matter, out into the beyond and stuff like that. Like that's what that means. I, I, Man, I really style myself with philosophy sometimes, or really all the time. Like I was thinking about that in my head, and then saying it out loud really brought it out. So yeah, I'll probably do a video of strictly on the flag when I get it done. I'll have to wait to get the service pin for that because I probably can't draw the eagle or the yin yang. I might be able to draw the yin yang with a mouse, but I would really need to wait for a pin for that, for the surface pin. But yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah, because it's gonna be a complicated thing. I mean, what I can do, I can just use pictures off the internet and do it that way. Well, I'll try to make it. And see what happens. Because it should be. I mean, it will look all disjointed, but it would work. But yeah. All right. Well, anyway, that'd be for today. Thanks for watching. And oh, by the way, I'll appreciate if you were to subscribe on Patreon. I'm thinking of the beings to 4 more videos like this. To afford more videos like this. Oh, by the way, one last factoid. Commie fascist. It's something I made up because it sounded cool. And it like takes the worst. Like for example, commie fascist is the worst kind of enemy, or the best kind of enemy, because you have to shoot both of them or shoot them. You know, like for example, in a non-historical, versus Soviet Union game, or versus Nazi Germany game, like Wolfenstein or Command Conquer Guerrilla to an extent. Like they are like the people you don't feel bad for shooting. They are a good enemy. Commie fascist is a mix of both, therefore they're a good enemy. And of course, I didn't think about making a commie fascist faction or how that would work. I just made their faction because I need a faction. I basically need a faction who would World War twice in a row, pretty much. And after getting beat in World War III, I needed them a way to get back. And why would they fight again? Like, what would they like? Why would they not get Germany after World War One and World War II? Like, why would that not happen? And let's say people will be too nice to put it in a good way. People were too nice to them and stuff like that, and they decided to just back out and just nope from the world and just basically go full isolationist and just build their empire. They basically build an isolationist kingdom like North Korea. But do a whole lot better. The only real problem comes from Although the problem with them going full isolationist comes from the fact that both Chinese and Russians got a taste of power, but let's say that they are convinced to close their borders, go isolationist because the enemies are closing in, and the internet would somehow be cut off during the war, whether it be actually cut off or the government just simply shut it off during the war. doesn't matter at this point. It's probably a mix of both. So without knowing that without knowing that the enemies were that bad, hence, hence this section, um, like they were lied to, but couldn't fact check it without going outside of the border and stuff like that. Or simply being in the small bits of their country that was basically rushed through to get to the capital. Because of course both China and Russia overvalue their capitals. Unlike America, which if you lose the capital, who cares? As long as the president's okay. Lose the president, who cares? We'll go to the next guy. Uh, um, we'll go to the next guy. It doesn't matter. Whereas Russia and China to me at least, overvalue their capitals. Like if Beijing is lost, that'll be horrendous for them. If Moscow is lost, that'd be even worse. So yeah. But anyway, so I didn't even mean to make them call me fascist. I completely forgot about that. But again, it's just that form came before function. Wait, that makes no sense. Function came before form. It's like making the most beautiful thing to ever exist, but making it simply to solve a problem. And then you make it as pure functionality, and then someone looks at it and like, oh well, that's the most beautiful thing to ever exist, and then you're like, oh, I guess it is. I just made it functional. Which is also how I operate to an extent. But anyway. Alright, so anyway, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I appreciate watching on this video. It really means a lot to me. Also, if you were to subscribe to my Patreon, I'll do stuff on my livings to afford me doing stuff like this, and also afford stuff to, like maybe make an animated series or get a crew together to make an animated series, CGI, or make a game. Like for example, I can mess around. I can mess around and make free games with the free version of RPG Maker. But to make like an RTS, which is what I really want to do with the Durverse, an RTS or even turn-based game would do a lot. Will do great things for it. Or an FPS, doesn't matter which. But I can't because I lack the skill. I could probably get the skill to make an RTS, but yeah, I would rather have a team of young upstart game developers who are working on it in their off time to do it, or mod it. Modding also works. Anyway, so if you're interested if you're wanting to make an RTS or first-person shooter and want an idea, we can work together. Just let me know. I have emails are in the description. Alright, by the way, so that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. If you can't support me on Patreon, subscribe to being my watch and YouTube is more than amazing on its own. Thank you all for taking time out of there to watch these videos. Love y'all. Alright, so that'll be it for this video. Thanks for watching. And I guess see you in skin.